flowers outside of my campsite for our first night. And in the distance, that would be Canada. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's some cliffs over there. That's where I was earlier at an overlook that I could look down on the Poplar River. Well, I just went down to the Poplar River and coming up this side now. And the next hill is going to be a ski area. So it's coming up. But beautiful views. You can see that the leaves are just starting to turn, some of them. But good day, nice day. Well, good morning. Tuesday morning, day 2. It's 7:30. Getting on the trail this morning. I get on early. Looking at the weather forecast. Got some issues tomorrow with rain, so I don't know what I want to do. The parts of this trail are very well maintained, but parts of it are really rutty and rocky. And I'm thinking, if that's wet, that's not going to be fun at all, especially in steep downhills. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of play it by ear today and see how far I get. See if I can get to my goal of Springdale Creek. The other thing is, I'm almost out of water, and my first water crossing might be 4 miles from here, which is not fun. So anyway, slept pretty good actually. It's warm. It was not cold last night at all. So, so far the trip was a bonus. I'll get back to you later. I'm on top of what's called Moose Mountain, and I've been on the trail about an hour, but there is Lake Superior, which the Ojibwe Indians called Gitchigumi, but there it is out there. It looks fairly calm from here, but it's a long way out there. But anyway, gonna be walking on. This is the land of the Ojibwe, and their story is kind of interesting. The white man calls them Chippewa, and they call them that because it's actually pronounced Ojibwa, so the whites thought they were saying Chippewa, so they called them Chippewa. Some of the Ojibwe call themselves Chippewa, and I think there's a reservation in North Dakota. A woman told me about that is a Chippewa reservation, but this was their land originally, and they so the whites call them Chippewa. their correct name for the tribe is Ojibwe, but they call themselves Anishinaabe. And Anishinaabe is translated to first people. They consider themselves to be the very first people. And I'm not sure why that is, but it could be that the geographic area they're in here in the north may have not had other tribes for a long time, so they may not have had any exposure to previous tribes, which farther south, wherever you go, there's a history of different tribes usually. So, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. They were all moved out in the 1800s to reservations, but in the 1600s, which is called the contact period, where the Native Indians first had contact with whites, and those were primarily French trappers up here. The Ojibwe were one of the first tribes to befriend the trappers, and when they did that, they got their weapons and other things that made them really fiercely, I would say probably superior from a war perspective against the other tribes who hadn't picked up those weapons yet. So for a period of time, the Ojibwe were really fierce, and I'm about hour or so north of Duluth, Minnesota, which is the very far west point of Lake Superior. Anyway, the Ojibways, after the contact period, moved south around Duluth into northwestern Wisconsin, and that was the area of the Sioux. The Sioux were there at the time. The Ojibwe basically just displaced the Sioux, forced them westward in what is now Minnesota. But that's why you go through Wisconsin and you see Chippewas and Ojibwe, but they really weren't. They weren't there first. It was the Sioux. And then in the 1800s, the government signed treaties with the Indians, which were basically deed your land over to us or else type thing. So they did that, and then I think the last thing they deeded over was there's an island there. It's a group of islands in Wisconsin, actually, in Lake Superior, and there's one there called Madeline Island. Madeline Island was the Ojibwe, I guess it was their most holy spot. It was probably a combination of Washington, D.C. and Jerusalem for us. So, but they were forced to deed Madeline Island over also, and that was kind of the end. And since then, they've been on reservations. But this is a beautiful area up here. Nice day too. Lucky. All these maples are starting to turn, and Harriet, who gave me a ride from my car to the trailhead, told me that what happens is these leaves start to turn up here, these maples and aspens and some of the birch, and if they get one big rain and windstorm, they all come down in one day. So it's kind of hard to time when the best colors are. They did a pretty good job there. They're starting, and this time of morning the sun is so low, it's kind of weird to look out, but I'm up in the Sawtooth Mountains and overlooking Lake Superior. And right now we're facing west. It's pretty windy. I hope you can hear this, but we're facing west, and this is the view. I've got it. A little glare from the sun there, maybe, but and I don't know how high up I'm off the level of Lake Superior, several hundred feet, I think. But up until about 11,000 years ago, this was all covered by a glacier called the Laurentide Glacier. And it was in its final stages. It was melting back, continued to melt back all the way to up in Baffin Island in the Arctic. And there's actually a remnant of the glacier still there. So there's ice up there that's 20,000 years old. But anyway, the glacier covered this whole area and was melting back. And as it melted, the end of the glacier was out here someplace, and a huge lake formed over here to the west. Roughly half the size of Lake Superior, I think. It was called Lake Duluth. And it formed because part of the glacier stuck out this way and dammed the water up this way. So the water couldn't flow and it dammed up, and the beach level was up here where I am. And there's supposed to be some beach deposits up here, but I haven't seen any. But anyway, on the other side of that finger of the glacier that dammed the Lake Duluth up, there was another huge lake called Lake Minong, and I think it was actually larger than Lake Duluth. But at about 10,600 years ago, that ice dam broke, and Lake Duluth, which the shore level was up here, rushed and drained and met up with Lake Minong. In the period of 1 week, all that happened, and the level of the lake fell. It's probably roughly where it is today, but it's amazing that all that happened in 1 week. Just imagine seeing that happen. How's that for rapid global climate change?